Okay, so for my favorite level, I chose Unreal Tournament. Um, First off, being I really liked Unreal Tournament when I was growing up. Second reason is because I got to do more bot and AI pathing in um, this one, and so that's kind of like what I'm really into. Um, yeah, we'll just go into it. So I guess we'll just go over the first thing that I really liked, which is the AI pathing. Um, Obviously, making the level was really cool, even though it was kind of hard to find some documentation or explanations of what I was trying to do. Like, I wasn't able to find too much about doing um, textures on walls or like adding art to the wall, but or how to kind of cut out spaces in these blocks for like people to walk through. Like, I was planning to have like a ramp here, and then so whenever you give a little bit more power to mid, so if you can control mid, you could have like a little bit of higher ground for um, snipers for cover fire when moving into the enemy base, and a few things like that. But the one thing that I could find stuff about, there was like a very very long documentation about bot pathing and how bots would work, and I just thought the AI part was really really cool because it could, and I guess I'll just kind of explain it. So the idea is that whenever you set up the map, you'd have spawn points kind of like standing around, or you would. I have like I think I have one here, here, one behind the lightning gun, one here, one here, one here, and one here, and of course the same thing for the enemy side. And so I could probably show it.
Play.
Okay, well they already moved, but yeah. So like one person would like sit here, and let's say they spawn in and they would camp the lightning gun from you know wherever they're standing at. So you could have people set up for defending, or actually I wouldn't even tell people to defend. So
Red flag
it
taken.
was more of just they go in and they do their own thing,
Red flag
obviously.
returned.
But I didn't have too much control
Blue
until I
flag
started
taken.
reading a little bit more on bot pathing and how the bots would actually work.
Blue flag drop. Blue flag
Um,
returned.
the next part is that once I figured out how the bots would
Blue
path,
flag
so
taken.
whenever the bots
Blue
spawn in, they
flag
move to like
dropped.
a
Blue flag returned.
interest point, I guess is what I would
Red
call it. So
flag
like that could
taken.
be like a weapon, that could be a flag,
Red flag
or
returned.
you could specify a point of interest for them to move to like manually. So like I think I have one sitting
Red
right
flag
here
taken.
because whenever they path from, if they
Blue
spawn like
flag
right here,
taken.
they'll move to I think lightning gun,
Blue
but
flag
they
returned.
have trouble seeing the spider gun here.
Blue flag
So you have to
taken.
put a pathing point. I had to put a pathing point between
Blue
these two
flag
pillars
returned.
and give it different weight. So they would either path into here or they would path into here to here.
Red
Sorry.
flag returned.
And so
Blue flag
I always thought
taken.
that was really cool. I like the whole bothing concept. Um,
Blue flag returned.
oh, the other thing that really made this kind of my favorite level was that I hadn't played too many shooter games before.
Red flag taken. Blue
Um,
flag taken.
Unreal I think was my first shooter
Red
game
flag
that I'd
flags
played,
dropped.
and yeah, I played it for a really long time, and then I think recently I started playing Valorant, and so I thought that was really cool. And Valorant kind of gave me ideas of how
Blue flag
weapon
taken.
placement
Blue
should
flag
be, or
dropped. Blue flag returned.
it's more, I guess, along the lines of holding points, kind of like CS:GO. I hadn't played any CS:GO, but
Blue flag
I know
taken.
me and my friends were playing Valorant, and so having like points that you would hold ideally
Blue flag
to gain control
dropped.
before moving
Taken.
into a point. You know, that's kind of like how I see Valorant and CS:GO. And so I kind of took inspiration from that.
Blue flag
Obviously, this
returned.
map is a little
Red
bit
flag
is
taken.
way more open
Red
than
flag returned. Red flag
like a
taken.
CS:GO or a Valorant map.
Red flag
But
returned.
yeah, some of my inspiration came from that, and I think it was cool just kind of putting in concepts that I've seen from other games that I haven't really played too much with, and kind of just experimented with them and tested them out just to see how they work, and to see if I can like if they
Red
work
flag
in the
taken.
way which I had intended, which I
Red
think they
flag
had.
returned. Red flag taken.
I
Red
think the
flag
only thing that could
dropped.
probably be changed
Red
is the
flag returned.
bots pathing. Because obviously, like, this guy's standing out way in the open, right? And probably not ideal, because if there was a sniper camping their flag carrier, he'd probably already be dead.
Blue flag taken. Red
But,
flag taken. Red flag dropped. Red flag
these bots are
returned.
also
Blue
on
flag returned.
intermediate, so hold on, let me... So if I put them on godlike, they'll move way, way faster,
Play.
and they won't sit out in the open. Because you can see, they're like teleporting around. Because the lat spots on intermediate, they don't use the translocator to teleport and to
Red
move.
flag. Red flag.
Because obviously, you know, if you're just sitting around,
Blue flag returned.
and if you're just sitting around, you're getting shot. And that's kind of like the one thing that a little bit different for Unreal Tournament in comparison to Valorant. Is
Red
that
flag taken.
things like Valorant and CS:GO, they have a lot more movement,
Red flag returned.
or they have a lot less movement in the game, and it's more around camping corners. And so because this is a little bit more faster paced,
Red flag dropped. Red flag returned.
I made it more open. Because
Blue flag
you have like the
taken.
translocator to move around. You don't have to necessarily camp a corner. But I mean, you still can. I didn't want it to be like have no advantage.
Blue flag
Because if they're like translocating around, like
Red flag
obviously
taken.
you have to draw it out first, and then
Blue flag dropped. Blue flag returned. Taken.
drawing out the
Red
weapon
flag dropped. Red flag returned.
kind of like slows down the pace in which you can or change targets to
Red
somebody
flag
else.
taken. Red flag. Blue flag taken.
I probably should be talking while I'm playing. But yeah, that's kind of like the overall reason why I think this is my favorite level. I just think I think that there's a lot of points of interest that I try to mimic in other games that I haven't tried before, in creating levels. Like for the Battle Block Theater, I thought it was more obvious of like what would work and what wouldn't work, because I've seen like a lot of platformers before. I had tried making platformers before. I had seen people create platformers and talk about like theory and what will work and what wouldn't work. But for, I guess, arena shooters, I haven't seen, or I haven't listened to any, I haven't seen anything or tried too much with them. And so I think experimenting with it and bringing in some experience from different shooter games was really fun, and kind of putting them all together to create something. So, yeah, my favorite level.